Hey everyone, Carl here with Literate Lessons, bringing you a deep dive featuring Metagross this week. Metagross is a very powerful steel type that saw a ton of play in the non-restricted formats on Sword and Shield, but can leave a lot to be desired when we're looking at Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl VGC. But before we get started on Metagross, make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live, and make sure to go follow our Twitter at LR Lessons so you can go and vote in the polls we hold on Friday for deep dives. So, Metagross is a interesting Pokemon because its roles are based on the format it's in. A lot of what Metagross does in Sword and Shield is Dynamax things. When you think Metagross, you think like weakness policy or Dynamax and just blow people up with your +2 attack that's really, really high, so on and so forth like that. As for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, though, you don't have access to either weakness policy or Dynamax. So you have to kind of look and see what you can do with Metagross in a different situation. Things to think about, like for Metagross, are like bulky steel type niches. If you are looking for something that's going to take a couple hits for you and do some damage back in return, Metagross might fit the bill a little bit better. Overall, steel types are really hard to play, I feel like, in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, just due to the whole way the format is developed. But overall, it's fairly easy to maybe try and reinvent the wheel, so to speak, for Metagross. Metagross's history in the Sword and Shield metagame is kind of scattered, I would call it. We know Metagross overall is as a very powerful Dynamax threat, was seen a lot of play since its introduction to the Crown Tundra. If you remember back to real back early in Series 7, you saw like Metagross Spectrier, Metagross Tornadus. You saw that a lot in Series 9 as well, trying to do things like Bulldoze or Brutal Swaying or stuff like that. As we got into the restricted formats, though, Metagross kind of fell off a bit, mainly due to the fact that there's just better steel types like Zam and Zacian to play. However, it's still playable. You don't see it a ton, but it's because the Pokemon that it plays well with aren't that popular right now. If you think about restricted that works with Metagross, we see things like Kyogre, Yveltal, Groudon once in a while. So Metagross has kind of become this pillar of the format that, even though the format has changed around it, you could still play it and get away. Common partners for Metagross tend to vary a lot, but the big cohesive thing that they all do, a lot of them are either resist or immune to ground. The big difference here is Incineroar. Incineroar just does really well as a Intimidator and pairs really well with Metagross. However, these other two, Landorus and Tornadus, both are flying types, both are immune to ground type attacks, pair really well with Metagross. Tornadus acts as a speed control option and a weakness policy activator for Metagross using Brutal Swing and Tailwind. Landorus, again, is another Intimidator, real powerful, real common. We're used to seeing it all the time. Other partners to think about, not listed on the screen obviously, are things like Grimmsnarl. We saw Pokemon like what was another one? It's not Yveltal. Oh, Glaring Moltres, the other dark flying type. We saw that a lot. We saw that a lot in Series 7 and 9. But however, we've gotten Yveltal for Series 11, which I feel like is just a strict upgrade. Dark Aura is really good. And then Rotom Heat here is another ground immunity. It pairs really well with Metagross. It helps your Sun matchup a ton because Metagross doesn't line up the greatest against Venusaur and Charizard and Groudon. So Rotom Heat kind of helps shore that matchup up and also just acts as a bunch of immunities for Metagross. When we look at the Metagame Breakdown here, we see that common moves are always Steel, Ground, and maybe like Ice or Rock depending on what you want to play. Iron Head, Stomping Tantrum, Earthquake, Bulldoze, those are all super duper common ground type moves, Stomping Tantrum being the best one of the bunch in my opinion. Protect is super duper common to see on the weakness policy variants, 80% here, not surprised at all. Other things you consider, if you're playing like Dynamax versions, you have like Ally Switch, which also turns into Max Guard for you. Other coverage moves are things like Zen Headbutt, Bullet Punch, Rock Slide, like I mentioned earlier. While not as common, are definitely viable still in this format. As for common items, we see weakness policy here at 77%. No surprise that this is the most played item. Metagross benefits the most from getting a bonus +2 in any stat, really. Its stats are all across the board very, very good, so giving it that +2 attack on that base 130 is nuts. As for other common items, we see a lot of Will-O-Wisp when Metagross is popular, so Lumberry makes sense here. And then Life Orb or Assault Vest are kind of niche, uncommon items because those are usually on the partners for Metagross, but are still viable in this format. Building a team that features Metagross is fairly straightforward most of the time. A lot of what you're focusing on is just doing weakness policy things, Dynamaxing Metagross, getting in a good position, and then sweeping through teams. So a lot of what you're trying to do is have good ways to activate your weakness policy, whether that's like Sucker Punch, or Brutal Swing, Bulldoze, Earthquake, whatever fits your fancy. But having a way to activate it on your team is usually very beneficial for you. Having good ground and fire resists and immunities is also a good option. If we think about things like I mentioned, like Rotom Heat, Landorus, Tornadus, Yveltal are all real common partners that are really, really powerful alongside Metagross. For that fire aspect, though, you think about just other fire types. Incineroar, Rotom Heat again, Heatran. You don't really ever want to double up on typing like that, but Heatran having Flash Fire and being a fire immunity can sometimes also just be a good check. Other things to watch out for are like Urshifu. Dark Urshifu deals a ton of damage to Metagross, which I don't think there's any Pokemon out there that wants to take a Wicked Blow from like a Choice Band Urshifu, but having a way to kind of beat that in your head would be a good idea. And having access to Clear Body means that you're immune to Intimidate and other stat drops, so you don't have to fear like Scary Face from Grimmsnarl, or like any attack drops off of like Intimidate or Snarl or anything like that. So your buffs that you get from your weakness policy are permanent unless you switch or they use Haze or something like that. Looking at movesets and the base stats here for Metagross, we see that overall Metagross's stats are really well balanced. We see base 80 HP, base 130 defense, base 90 special defense. Usually on Pokemon like this, there's usually some downside. Metagross doesn't really have that. Everything's usually fairly even across the board, except for the obviously defense and attack where it excels. Speaking of its attack, base 135 physical attack is arguably one of the better stats you could have. Base 95 special attack is nothing to sneeze at either, especially coming off of like a steel psychic type where a lot of the special coverage that you get is really unique. Where Metagross does lack a little bit is in its speed, base 70, but what's cool is a lot of the common partners that Metagross plays with also answer the speed control all at the same time, so that base 70 speed is almost always negated in some shape or fashion, whether that be Bulldoze or Tailwind. Sometimes they play Trick Room, stuff like that. So a lot of what Metagross does is just well balanced and just very powerful. Looking at this first moveset here, we see that weakness policy Metagross is very, very powerful and probably the most common set you'll run into. Max HP, 196 attack investment into attack, 52 investment into speed. That speed stat gets you to 97, which I'm not sure why 97 is the important number to hit, but more power to you if they figure it out. They know why. Cool. Adamant nature, so we're hitting like a truck even without our weakness policy boost, but if we do get that weakness policy boost in Dynamax, nothing's going to stand in our way for the most part. Ice Punch, Stomping Tantrum, Iron Head are the best coverage moves you can run. Ice Punch hits the problematic flying types that you can run into, also hits Landorus that can be a problem, any ground type that can cause an issue. Stomping Tantrum hits fire, hits other steel types super effectively, so that's always going to be good. Plus, Max Quake's really good on your lower special defense investment. And then Iron Head boosts your defense even more, just stab, steel type attacks are really, really powerful. And obviously, we're going to run Protect here just to help keep ourselves safe a little while longer after Dynamax. Next up, we have the Assault Vest set. This is a little bit more niche. We're not running weakness policy here because I thought it'd be kind of dumb to cover two weakness policy sets. But this set is running Ice Punch, Stomping Tantrum, Bullet Punch, and Iron Head. We don't have any good ways to boost our attack outside of just getting Adamant 252. So if you have Pokemon that do like coaching strats, that's something you consider doing with this Metagross set. Bullet Punch is something that Metagross isn't known for running too much of, but can catch a lot of opponents off guard and pick up KOs when you need them to. Obviously, the rest of the moves, Ice Punch, Stomping Tantrum, Iron Head, same rules as the last set, super duper common, super duper niche, just best coverage all around. The last set here is for Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. This one's a little bit more interesting, mainly due to the fact that you lose a lot of coverage when you're going to Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Metagross doesn't get access to Iron Head, it doesn't get access to Ice Punch, it doesn't get access to Stomping Tantrum because none of those moves are available to it. So instead what this set does is we are min speed Gyro Ball as our main steel type attack, trying to just do as much damage as we possibly can and trying to stall the game out using Light Screen and Reflect. This is like our anti-fairy set screens and prey kind of set. We got bulk investment so we don't go down to Earthquake from Garchomp a whole lot of the time. A lot of special defense investment to eat Earth powers and fire type attacks from like Heatran. So do with this set what you will. It's not the best set. Metagross is hard to play in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, so there's a whole lot of exploration we need to do still for Metagross in that format. Speaking of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, some minor things to think about here. Even though you've lost weakness policy for Metagross, you could still utilize it in unique ways. Like we just saw, there was the Light Clay set that was playing screens, which is super duper cool. Playing more bulky sets rather than offensively oriented sets that are like max attack adamant can probably be a better niche pick into Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Think about things like screens, Rock Tomb, Iron Defense sets, just looking to bulk up on things. You could also play Special Metagross. Like I mentioned, that 95 base special attack is not terrible, especially in like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl formats where you're not seeing a whole lot of super bulky Max Quakes all the time. So getting access to moves like Grass Knot, Shadow Ball, and Sludge Bomb on top of like Psychic or Flash Cannon can usually spell success for things like Metagross. So to wrap up on Metagross here, as we've saw, it's a little bit more of a niche pick in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, but it has that pillar of being a format in Series 11. This thing, I would expect it to be played in every Sword and Shield format here till the end of time, unless it gets banned at some point. Weakness policy is such a powerful thing, and having access to it on something that's so powerful like Metagross with access to Clear Body is just the perfect storm when it comes to damage. But Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl players are always going to need to find ways to innovate with it and learn how to play with Metagross again. It's still very, very powerful. It does not need Dynamax to do powerful things. You just are lacking a lot of the coverage that you would normally have in Sword and Shield. And having access to that weakness policy also obviously helps. Definitely be aware of that when you're playing against Metagross. Don't activate that policy. Make them do it for you, and then maybe capitalize with like a foul play or a good double up into it. And aside from the restricteds like Zacian and whatnot, Metagross is still one of the better steel types in the format for Sword and Shield. Other things that come to mind, like steel-wise, is like you get like Celesteela and Kartana, both of which kind of suffer with their typing. Flying and Steel isn't the greatest defensive typing, mainly due to the fact that you just lose some resistances that Steel gets because Flying is weak to it. And then Grass and Steel, again, it's not the greatest typing in the world. It's fine, but you have that big 4x weakness to Fire. So Metagross, in my opinion, is probably one of the better non-restricted Steel types to be playing right now. Now, with that being said, I want to thank you all for hanging out and listening to me ramble about Metagross today. Make sure to check us out on Twitter at LRLessons, at MrMissouri25, and at MusicalVGC. Make sure to check out the Discord link in the description down below, and if that doesn't work, you can do discord.gg/LRLessons. That will take you to our wonderful Discord that is available and open to everyone. And remember to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live, leave a comment down below for ideas on future deep dives if you want to do that, and make sure to go vote in our poll. It should be up right now on Friday. And when it comes out on Friday, it should be up. If it's not, you can go yell at our Twitter guy. He'll get it taken care of. And with that being said, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're at in the world, and we'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.